On the front lines of the battle, the smoke-filled landscape and dusty ground seemed to set the stage for a deadly race. A race with no finish line. Russian motorcycles attempt to penetrate the open road at high speed, hoping to evade the sharp eyes and surprise attacks of Ukrainian forces. However, what awaits them is not freedom, but death from the skies. Ukrainian border guards from the GART brigade treat the infiltration attempt as a hunting mission. With the composure of predators, FPV drone operators follow every movement of the enemy motorcycles. From above, a drone camera shows how the spinning wheels of the dry ground become mere footprints, and the old machines can never outpace the speed and precision of remotely controlled electronic wings. In the footage, one after another Russian motorcycles dart across the open road, seeking cover. But every maneuver, every turn is calculated by the Ukrainian drone pilots. With the roar of their miniature engines, the FPV drones glide like guided missiles, locking onto their targets with cold accuracy. The small but deadly explosions shattered the riders' balance, throwing them from their vehicles, which had become like wheeled coffins. As one motorcycle was destroyed, others tried to turn and flee, but in vain. The next drone was waiting for them, and the aerial chase was like a flock of eagles swooping down on their prey in the open field. For the Russian soldiers, the roads that had once been assault routes had become execution grounds. These moments demonstrated the brutal contrast of modern warfare. On one side were simple machines, motorcycles that relied solely on speed and agility, while on the other stood precision technology controlled with ingenuity and composure. The GART brigade proved that on the Ukrainian battlefield there was no room for mere luck. Every enemy offensive attempt was met with strategy, discipline, and technology that gave no second chances. The invaders' motorcycle race ended in destruction, with no victors, only charred remains and bodies lying on the ground they had tried to conquer. Above the front lines, the FPV drones returned to base, their job done, their mission accomplished. At present, Ukrainian counterattack in the northern Sumy sector captured a defensive line held by elite Russian Marines, capturing prisoners and putting survivors to flight. Elements of Ukraine's 225th Assault Regiment attacking north from the villages of Kindrativka and Andriivka used artillery, mortars, drone strikes, and armored infantry assaults to break positions held by Russia's 810th Naval Infantry Brigade. Video published by that unit and Ukraine's General Staff showed. The battalion-sized attack led by a picked strike group called Storm Group Morak also captured the villages of Novokonstantinkivka and Konstantinivka in fighting on Sunday and Monday, and pushed patrols to the Russo-Ukraine border just north of the latter village, some pro-Ukraine sources claimed. In Armed Forces of Ukraine, AFU practice, a battalion usually numbers between 300 and 600 personnel. The independent battle watch group Deep State on Wednesday reported that geolocation showed Russian forces were still present in strength in those two villages, with Ukrainian forces dominating open ground and threatening to cut Russian defenses off. Russian mill bloggers, led by the Moscow-sponsored Dva Mayora, 1.2 million followers, confirmed on Wednesday fierce fighting was in progress in Sumy region, with repeated Ukrainian assaults, but claimed Russian forces had repelled all attacks with heavy losses to Kiev's troops. Russia's Defense Ministry, in its Wednesday morning situation report, announced its forces in the Sumy-Andriivka sector had inflicted a defeat on 2 Ukrainian mechanized infantry brigades and a Ukrainian assault infantry brigade. The major Russian propaganda outlet RIA Novosti on Monday identified the 225th Brigade as the attacking unit in the Kindrativka-Andriivka sector and told viewers the Ukrainian assaults were completely liquidated, but did not make public evidence supporting the report. Drone video published by the 225th Assault Regiment on Monday and geolocated to the Sumy region battle area told a different story, showing Russian infantry running from a wood line under mortar fire. Subsequent images showed Russian infantry troops attempting to swim a river and attacked by drones, but that a 225th statement alleged it was retreating Russian Marines. The mood of unit social media reviewed by Kiev Post was jubilant, with posters reporting a solid battlefield success with a fortification line and Russian prisoners of war captured, and minimal Ukrainian casualties.
Пострел!
The Telegram-based independent Russian military information channel Severny Kanal, 33,000 followers, reported on Wednesday Russian troops still held portions of Andriivka, but they were effectively surrounded. In a Monday report, that source identified Russia's 30th Motor Rifle Brigade and the 177th and 810th Marine Infantry Brigades as the backbone of Kremlin defensive forces in the area. Ukraine's General Staff, in a Wednesday situation update, reported Ukrainian forces had posted gains in the northern Sumy sector and that combat was in progress.
Armat! Пострел!
On Wednesday, the General Staff published an interview with an alleged member of Russia's 810th Naval Infantry. Per that account, his unit suffered 80% casualties from Ukrainian drones and artillery attacking his position for more than a week, and when Ukrainian assault troops entered his entrenchment, he gave up. But the soldier's account was consistent with statements made by other prisoners of war from that unit. Russia in May launched a major cross-border offensive into Ukraine's northern Sumy region, capturing close to 36 villages and carving out a 10 kilometers by 30 kilometers salient in Ukrainian territory. Following the weekend battles around Andriivka, Kyiv's forces had freshly liberated a roughly 4 kilometer by 4 kilometer fraction of that lost ground. The relatively modest Ukrainian counterattack success in the northern Sumy sector took place against the background of a more substantial Ukrainian counteroffensive victory in the eastern Pokrovsk sector. Russian forces in August carved out a 15-kilometer deep salient in Ukrainian lines near the strategically important eastern Pokrovsk, only to lose most of it in following weeks to counterattacking Ukrainian assault infantry and airborne assault infantry. Ukrainian Marine, Airborne, and Assault Infantry units concentrated in the sector by AFU High Command had by mid-September regained most of the lost ground, surrounded surviving Russian forces in at least 2 pockets near the town of Dobropilya, and taken close to 100 Russian troops prisoner. AFU Commander-in-Chief General Alexander Syrskyi, in a Wednesday statement published by his office, said that Ukraine's forces generally are standing on the defensive and counterattacking.